Well, it's the last night of the NBA's regular season, and the playoffs will tip off this weekend. The Hornets will soon be heading home for the summer, but this year there was an interesting bond between one of the Hornets players and some fans. Carolina Impact's Jason Terzis has that story.
Did you get my text?
It's an unlikely friendship.
Yeah, it's kind of unexpected.
Between star player and loyal fans.
And I think it's very unique.
A relationship that started by an odd twist of fate. And has grown over a half dozen years.
I think as long as you can score 50 and the whole rest of the team can score 50, we're okay.
I don't know about that. Especially from day one, I mean, I had no idea that we would become this close.
Things just sort of fell into place.
Kemba Walker is the Charlotte Hornets all-star point guard. Mike and Elizabeth Peeler are perhaps his biggest fans.
Anything good you've ever heard about Kemba is true.
Not just fans, but friends.
Because he has lots of crazy fans, and we're not that, although a lot of people probably think we are.
Go back to March of 2011. Kemba Walker leads the University of Connecticut to a national championship and is named the NCAA tournament's most valuable player. 2 months later, he's drafted by the then Charlotte Bobcats. Mike and Elizabeth Peeler had always been Charlotte NBA fans, but they weren't big college basketball fans and knew very little about Kemba.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. They didn't know much about me.
Another thing that Kemba didn't know was that on the night he was drafted, Elizabeth was undergoing her first round of chemotherapy for breast cancer. Basketball was the furthest thing from her mind. 2 days after signing his contract with the team, Kemba was asked to go door to door, delivering season tickets. The Peelers were on the list.
I thought it was a little odd. I didn't know the NBA was like that. I didn't know we would have to do things like that.
Elizabeth had completed 3 rounds of chemo and was wearing a wig when Kemba arrived.
So when I opened the door, there were 6 men, and Kemba was one of them.
We sort of expected this cocky, brash guy that, might or might not give us the time of day.
I was just trying to be nice. I was just, being myself.
Not at all what we thought.
Real recognizes real, right? The Peelers are great people, really just genuine and authentic. And I think Kemba recognized it immediately, and that's how the relationship started.
Kemba and the Hornets representatives left, and the Peelers started talking.
I was like, Mike, here's this kid, that we brought here from the Bronx, and he doesn't know anybody. And he needs us, I think.
We kind of looked at each other and said, he's really a nice guy. We should try to figure out how to stay in touch.
So a few days later, the Peelers went to an open practice for fans and made sure to sit down by the court.
When he came over for an inbound pass or something, we'd wave him and he'd wave back, so we realized that he hadn't totally forgotten who we were.
Mike and Elizabeth then started arriving to games early and would make their way down to the tunnel that led from the court to the players' locker rooms.
That's kind of how everything started. We talked and we talked and we talked each and every home game.
Those pregame interactions led to a dinner invitation to the Peelers' home in Dilworth.
Yeah, I accepted. I mean, they were really nice people.
We realized from his first visit that he liked chocolate chip cookies that we had prepared, because he had told us he liked chocolate.
At a later visit to our house, I think we had made the chocolate chip cookies, but we also made brownies. He actually told us that he liked the brownies better than the cookies.
One time they made them for me, and they were really good. They were really good.
So the Peelers had an idea. Bring brownies to the games to give to Kemba. And with that, a new tradition was born. On game days, Mike whips up the homemade brownies, complete with Ghirardelli chocolate, tosses them in the oven and bakes for exactly 47 minutes. After cooling off, he cuts them up and gets them ready for delivery.
Somewhere along the way, we asked him how often he'd like to get brownies if he could choose. He said every game. We go, every game?
They say, do you want? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'm never going to turn down any brownies.
90 minutes before tip-off, Mike is always the first to enter the arena.
When we go in, we're in sort of a mad dash to try to get our spot down at the bottom of the tunnel. And so I make Elizabeth carry in the bag with the brownies.
Of course, arena rules prohibit bringing in outside food or beverage, so the Peelers have to be discreet.
We've never had an issue with that.
They'll be all right. If they get in their trouble, they could just tell them it's for me.
The Peelers head directly to the entrance of the tunnel, and following his pregame warm-up, Kemba comes over.
I already got a few technical fouls. I can't get no more.
How much are they? How much do they cost?
Like
2,000, something like that.
Holy cow.
Each pregame interaction begins and ends the same, with a hug for Elizabeth and a handshake for Mike, and of course, the Brownie handoff.
So I take him back to the locker room. If we're here at home, I mean, I'll just take him home and eat them right after the game.
And in time, 6'1" from UConn, wearing number 15, your captain, Kemba Walker.
During games, the Peelers are always in the same spot, Section 101, Row B, seats 9 and 10. The relationship with Kemba goes well beyond basketball. They've watched him grow as a player and person.
It is pretty cool. I mean, it's really different, of course. You know, I've never would have thought that I'd be, you know, this close with them.
They've even hung out as VIPs at Kemba's annual summer basketball camp and made the trip to see him in this year's All-Star game in New Orleans. The Hornets are even featuring the Peelers on next year's season ticket campaign.
If you think about the chance of us developing this opportunity, choosing the Peelers, going to the house that day, and from day one they create a relationship that's extended even into today and throughout his career as it's developed. Yeah, I think it is a little, it's a little different. I don't think I've seen anything quite like this.
It's really pretty neat that we're still doing this 6 years later.
And as for Elizabeth, her cancer is in full remission. She's now looking forward to more dinners with Kemba and more seasons of Hornets basketball. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jason Terzis reporting.
Thanks so much, Jason. It's great to see the relationship between the fans and those pro players.